A community comes together for a prayer vigil 2 days after an employee gunned down 5 people at a manufacturing facility in suburban Chicago. Plus, President Trump will be spending President's Day in Mar-a-Lago while the debate over his declared national emergency looms. And a hot air balloon crashed in California Sunday with 10 people on board.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:31 on Monday, February the 18th. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News This Morning. I'm Will Puckett. Well, if you know anything from this morning, we have started off each half hour with the news that it's going to rain and most likely quite a bit this week. We're in luck today. It's not supposed to rain that much after we got walloped here in Hazard yesterday. Let's bring Brandon in this morning. And Brandon, last night we were looking at a possible 7 inches. This morning we're looking at 3, and you checked just about 20 minutes ago and it's back up to 4.
All right.
So Mother Nature is really giving you all the loop-de-loop.
Exactly. And here's the thing, regardless of what the models are showing, if we get anything between 3 and 4 inches, it's going to have some issues, some impacts. We're already seeing all kinds of mudslides. There's a bunch of those this morning, and the ground is already saturated. So it's going to be a situation we have to continuously monitor this week. But this morning, rain backing off. Let's go to the satellite and radar, and you can see over the last few hours it was coming down pretty good, but in the overnight hours started to die out and should be completely gone this morning. Maybe some spots even trying to see a little break in the clouds, but again, for the most part, it's going to be a cloudy, dreary day, even though live pinpoint Doppler radar is scanning clear skies for now. The frontal system off to our south has backed off just a little bit, but it's going to start to push back toward us as we head through the next couple of days. We're looking at temperatures in 30s and 40s this morning, so continuing to drop just a little bit there, seeing a degree or two cooler there in Monticello, Harlan, and Wise this morning. Some spots about a couple of degrees warmer. Visibility not showing up really bad anywhere this morning, but we do know it's out there in some patchy dense fog, so be careful of that. 38 this afternoon is where we'll stabilize at. Dry throughout the day and into the night as we see temperatures drop into the upper 20s. The full forecast coming up here in just a few minutes.
All righty, Brandon. Well, after President Trump agreed to sign a congressional spending deal that included $1.3 billion for barriers along the border with Mexico, the president declared a national emergency to secure billions more in funding. Now, as CBS's Mark Liverman reports, Mr. Trump faces opposition on several sides.
President Trump appears prepared to issue his first veto if Congress votes to block his national emergency declaration along the border with Mexico.
He's going to protect his national emergency declaration, guaranteed.
White House senior advisor Stephen Miller said on Fox News Sunday, the president has the right to take action on the border under the National Emergencies Act of 1976.
If the president can't defend this country, then he cannot fulfill his constitutional oath of office.
The president declared the national emergency on Friday. Lawmakers refused to provide the billions of dollars he demanded for his border wall. The move would free up about $8 billion for the wall by shifting it away from the Defense Department and other agencies.
Sadly, we'll be sued, and sadly, it'll go through a process, and happily we'll win, I think.
Democratic Senator Chris Coons said on CBS's Face the Nation that Congress needs to defend its power over the budget.
We should not set the terrible precedent of letting a president declare a national emergency simply as a way of getting around the congressional appropriation process.
California's Attorney General told ABC's This Week his state would sue to block the emergency order.
There's enough evidence to show that this is not the 9/11 crisis that we faced back in 2001. It's not the Iran hostage crisis we faced in 1979.
House Democrats have said they plan to introduce a resolution to stop the emergency declaration. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
Now, the American Civil Liberties Union and Public Citizen, a nonprofit watchdog group, also say they plan legal action against the emergency declaration. Well, Terry McAuliffe was on Face the Nation to talk about the current politics in Virginia. The former governor talked about the ongoing controversy as the new governor and other members of the government face accusations.
Very serious allegations have been made. They need to be investigated. He has called for an investigation. The two women have called for an investigation. I believe this week in Massachusetts, they've opened up an investigation, and I believe the Duke University has opened up an investigation. So we will go through that process.
Now, McAuliffe was governor from 2014 to 2018. Well, it was an emotional afternoon in Aurora, Illinois. The community coming together for a prayer vigil on Sunday, 2 days after an employee gunned down 5 people at a manufacturing facility in suburban Chicago. Police say 45-year-old Gary Martin went on a shooting rampage Friday. He had just been let go from his job at the Henry Pratt manufacturing facility in Aurora. 5 people were killed, all employees of Henry Pratt.
Friday was basically the worst day our company has ever had.
The 5 victims are identified as Trevor Wayner, Clayton Parks, Russell Bayer, Vicente Juarez, and Josh Pinkert. According to police, Martin had a lengthy criminal record, including 6 prior arrests by Aurora police and a felony conviction in Mississippi. Well, flags will be lowered to half-staff today in honor of a soldier who lost his life in Syria. Army Chief Warrant Officer 2, Jonathan Farmer, was killed in combat in January by a suicide bomb. The Florida native was stationed in Kentucky in Fort Campbell. He was 37 years old. Governor Bevin is encouraging everyone to lower their flags in his honor. Meanwhile, deputies were called to a wreck involving 2 cars in the Foggertown community of Clay County Saturday. Deputies say the driver, Coy Grubb, showed signs of being under the influence. He was charged with DUI. Deputies say they found drug paraphernalia along with meth. To Ashland now, where a man is charged with having child porn. Kentucky State Police say Milton Kruger III was communicating with children online and had inappropriate materials on his computer. Police charged Kruger with 4 counts of possession of matter portraying a minor in a sexual performance. He faces up to 5 years in prison and was taken to the Boyd County Detention Center. In West Virginia, officials say a raccoon killed by 2 dogs tested positive for rabies. The animal was found in the Cheat Lake area on February 7th. The dogs that found the raccoon were vaccinated for rabies. They, along with the dog's owner, will be monitored and undergo treatment. Well, people in Harlan realized others were not getting a hot meal daily, so they wanted to change that. WYMT's Lauren McCourt headed down to a kitchen run by volunteers to see what ideas they cooked up.
I say these times would be good for the crowd.
With Love from Harlan started out helping others across the country.
Well, we started out with hurricane relief.
And soon realized their hometown also needed help.
And so we've helped a lot of people away from Harlan, so we really wanted to open up and help our community.
As the homeless population started to grow, people like Heather Burkhart began to notice.
I was taking plates of food and big tins of food and putting it on picnic tables.
That is when With Love from Harlan stepped up.
Originally, we had found out that Crossed Hands wasn't feeding on the weekends, so we wanted to fill in the gap.
To make sure no one goes a day without a hot meal.
We're having baked macaroni and cheese, peas, sauerkraut and weenies, cornbread, and I don't know what kind of dessert it is, but we always have desserts.
Letting Burkhart and her family put their cooking skills to use.
So because of With Love from Harlan, they've given me this avenue to be able to do this.
A community coming together.
The people of Harlan help the people of Harlan.
To help the people they love. In Harlan County, Lauren McCourt, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, for more info on how to help with Love from Harlan, you can log on to our website, WYMT.com. Well, hot air balloon crashed in California Sunday with 10 people on board. Officials say no one was taken to the hospital. The pilot said he had to make an emergency landing after high winds forced the balloon towards some power lines. Well, more than a dozen people were hurt in a 49-vehicle pileup near Denver International Airport Saturday. 17 people were injured in the crash, 3 people were treated at the scene, and 14 were transported to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, according to an update from Denver police. The crash happened while a band of snow moved across the Denver metro area on Saturday afternoon. The National Weather Service in Boulder said that although most people along the Front Range only received a trace of snow, the airport received 2 inches of fresh snow. Well, teachers in Oakland, California plan to go on strike soon. The Oakland Education Association is fighting for higher pay, smaller class sizes, and more support for students on campus. Union leaders announced plans to strike on Saturday. Oakland's mayor released a statement on Friday ahead of the union's announcement, urging teachers in the district to come to an agreement. Well, a second suspect has been arrested after the friendly fire death of a New York detective. An armed robbery at a T-Mobile store in Queens ended with more than 40 gunshots fired by 7 different officers. Detective Brian Simonson was killed. Another officer was wounded. Christopher Ransom has been charged with murder and was arraigned from his hospital bed Friday. The second suspect was allegedly the lookout. A funeral for Simonson is scheduled for this Wednesday. Well, the U.S.-backed Syrian militia fighting ISIS in its last toehold in Syria says there are more than 1,000 civilians trapped in the eastern part of the country. Officials say the extremists are hiding among civilians in a tented village and using a network of caves and tunnels. The extremists may include high-level commanders and could be holding hostages. Defense officials warn that ISIS still poses a major threat. Well, it's 6:41 on this Monday. Let's toss it over to Brandon to see what he's got cooking over on the weather wall. Brandon?
So far, things are pretty quiet this morning as you head out the door. We look at the kind of the state view, and you can see all the rain is pushed down. Excuse me, but the clouds are going to stick around as we head to the daytime hours. Back to line pinpoint Doppler radar. Clean sweeps across the board. Maybe just a little moisture there on top of Black Mountain, but again, no major issues this morning. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, a little cooler up toward the I-64 corridor. Moorhead, Richmond, over toward Lexington, all in the mid-30s, but down toward the Cumberland Valley there into the 40s this morning, and across the region down to the south, we see some warmer air, but it's a lot of cold air back this way. That is going to start to find its way back as that front pushes up from the south, bringing us our rain chances and warmer temperatures for the next couple of days. Will?
All righty, Brendan, thank you. Well, we will have stories trending on WYMT.com next. As always, thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning. Work release inmates help anxious parents free their baby from a locked car. And a grand dragon dance show was staged in China to celebrate the forthcoming traditional Lantern Festival.